आज बहुत लंबा नहीं करेंगे, मे बी अप टू 5:45 or something. Okay, we can start with our prayers. सब लोग ठीक है ना? All are good?
Yes.
ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम. श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयम करुणालयम.
रिपीट करें या आपके साथ बोले?
जैसे आपकी इच्छा.
नहीं, उनसे पूछिए वो कैसा करना, हम वैसे कर लेंगे.
We can repeat then. Suni uncle, shall we repeat or shall we just go ahead?
Anyway, we can. If we want to cut it short, we can do together, all of us. Other but there
Are you
will be
able
lot of.
to read this?
Gurumaji, anyway, it is okay.
So repeat then. Shruti
Okay.
smriti purananam
श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम्
आलयं करुणालयं
आलयं करुणालयं
नमामि भगवत्पादं
नमामि भगवत्पादं
शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं
शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं
शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं
शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं
केशवं बादरायणं
केशवं बादरायणं
सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे
सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे
भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः.
भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः
सदाशिवसमारम्भां
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्.
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्.
ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति
ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति
मूर्तिभेदविभागिने
मूर्तिभेदविभागिने
व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय
व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय
दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः.
दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शांति शांति शांति. Page 22. श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम्
श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम्
उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम्
उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम्
व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां
व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां
कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्.
कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्.
Page 33. That's verse number 2. Aparokshanubhutirvai
अपरोक्षानुभूतिर्वै
प्रोच्यते मोक्षसिद्धये
रोचते मोक्षसिद्धये
तद्भिरेव प्रयत्नेन
तद्भिरेव प्रयत्नेन
वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः.
वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः.
So last time we were looking at this verse only, yeah, and we saw how Swamiji says it's very important to have viveka. Okay, there was this topic, seeing oneself requires viveka. And then, of course, we did the viveka and we saw that whatever is illumined by consciousness is Om. And it is what we call as not Atma. Okay, it is Anatma iti. For the time being, we call it like that. Okay. And he had said, when this Viveka is there, we can distinguish between what is Atma, that is the self, the true self, and what is non-self. Iti, when that Viveka is there. And how can we do that Viveka? By knowing the characteristics of both. And so we had seen what the characteristics of both are. Then we had seen, as Swamiji said, that the immediate self-knowledge is the Vishaya, the subject matter of this text. And yeah, that is Aparokshanubhuti, that in direct self-knowledge is the subject matter of this text. Iti. And in a secondary sense, although text is also called Aparokshanubhuti. Then we saw the Prayojana. Prayojana means the purpose, the benefit that we will get, and that is moksha. Then Swamiji had a very interesting way of looking at moksha. It's an interesting perspective on moksha. He says on page 38, moksha is freedom from all impulses. And he says, so I call it as, this is Antakarana Shuddhi that Swamiji is talking about, the first level of freedom. The freedom to be attained is freedom from my own impulses. And he calls these impulses as raga and dvesha. Okay? And he looked at Gita and said how Gita talks about kama, krodha and lobha as impulses. And so when these impulses are there, then we don't really have a say on our buddhi. They control us. Iti. And then Swamiji makes some very nice on page 39 in the second paragraph. Moksha means unconditional freedom. When my mind is completely favorable to me, there is no conflict in my mind, in the mind at all. It's totally favorable, totally abiding, pleased, when I am comfortable with myself, comfortable being myself, free from kama and krodha, iti and lobha. So he says, freedom is when you discover a total satisfaction, contentment and acceptance of yourself as you are. Iti. So there's no conflict. There's no resistance. There's no conflict. That is called freedom. So I had a question. I thought I'll ask you all. Swamiji equates unconditional freedom to freedom from all impulses. Why?
What is the question, Guru Maharaj?
The question is because he is equating, this unconditional freedom or moksha to freedom from impulses.
And actually, because it is raga and dvesha, which is always binding and creating that I am not free. Because I always a dooner, as you have been using that word very popularly, it is that I am a dooner and remains a dooner throughout my life.
Yes.
If I can get rid of dundra, I will probably get the enlightenment. The problem is only this. I am searching and searching and searching and getting nothing because it is already with me. Like the key in my pocket, like the...
Here we are going slightly off where the question was that, the first what you said was right on the dot. Freedom from impulses is equal to unconditional freedom. That was very good what you had said. because those impulses rule me. So where is my freedom? No, there is no freedom when the impulses are ruling me. And then, so I'm not really free to do what is to be done. I'm not free to do what should be done, what is right, iti. I'm controlled by impulses, iti. Then he goes on to say that the source of all impulses, kama, krodha, lobha, is ignorance. Okay. I will also say ignorance and habit. So, where we have sapratibandhaka jnanam, there's this word called sapratibandhaka jnanam, where knowledge is there, but it is fraught with obstacles. And what is the main obstacle there? Is habit, vasana. We have a lot of habits, very mechanical habits are there. Okay? So, under the spell of habit, one will be under the spell of impulses. Okay? And of course, then Swamiji defines ignorance, all very beautiful portions, not merely absence of knowledge, but rather false knowledge. Okay. And then, of course, he gives the usual cycle, avidya, kama, krodha, lobha, everything is there. Okay. Avidya, kama, karma. Okay. I'm just reading what I have written. Okay. He says here in the last line of page 39, when there is total satisfaction, there is no scope for desire. What kind of desire? Desire for my own well-being. Because I am totally satisfied, I recognize my purnata. So there is no desire that for my well-being as such, yeah, which is dependent on any external circumstance, etc., etc. There could be desire for others' well-being, world, well-being. There could be, in the sense that one sees something, you see other people's unhappiness. So, out of empathy, there could be a desire that let that person be happy. It's a beautiful portions, no? This knowledge brings to manifestation the Paramananda, the wholeness which is my own nature, on page 40. Then he came to Mumukshu is a qualified student. Adhikari. Okay, who is the Adhikari?
Mukshu.
Who is the Adhikari? Is a very important way. Swamiji has just skipped over many things and brought us to who is Adhikari. Adhikari is the one who recognizes that self-ignorance is the problem, and therefore he has to go for self-knowledge, because only knowledge is opposed to ignorance. That person is the Adhikari. Then self-knowledge is meaningful only for a jignasu. Same thing, that here is this Adhikari who now recognizes that I need knowledge. Okay, then he has now converted from one who desires freedom to one who desires self-knowledge. So he has become a jignasu. So self-knowledge is meaningful only if you are a jignasu. It's a very big statement, You turn into jignasu, then self-knowledge is meaningful for you. Iti. So such a person is an adhikari. The person who has got this much of viveka, itna sara vivek ho gaya, so he is an adhikari. Okay. So then, so mumukshu must become a jignasu. We saw that. Then he comes to this vikshaniya muhur muhuhu. This knowledge is to be meditated upon, contemplated upon, deliberated upon, not once, but again and again and again, till there is total clarity. And this is done by whom? Sadbihi, people who are wise people, people who are got this, who are the adhikaris, iti, who are committed to Sat, who are good people, iti. Then he says, then out of the blue, suddenly there is this is the Sambandha connection on page 43, where the connection is really this muhur muhuhu vikshaniya, that this self-knowledge again and again, which is contemplated upon, that is the connection between this prayojana of moksha and this book, this textbook. You must undertake the sadhana of deliberating upon this knowledge in your mind again and again. That is the connection. Okay. Now we come to verse number 3. Before that, author says Sadbhave. Okay. How will he get this fourfold qualification? It's a very beautiful verse here. Verse number 3. Swavarnashrama dharmena
Swavarna ashrama dharmena
tapasa haritoshanat
tapasa haritoshanat
sadhanam prabhavet pumsam
sadhanam prabhavet pumsam
vairagyadi chatushtayam.
vairagyadi chatushtayam.
Yeah. Swavarnashrama dharmena tapasa haritoshanat sadhanam prabhavet pumsam vairagyadi chatushtayam. So what are the sadhanas which are going to give you this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti? That is what is being discussed here. Swavarna ashrama dharmena. I am reading the word meaning. Okay? By doing one's prescribed duty on page 44, according to one's social group and stage of life. Tapasa, by austerity. Haritoshanat, by propitiating Lord Hari. Sadhanam means prabhavet is discovered. Pumsam, by the people who are seekers and aspirants. Vairagyadi, dispassion. Chatushtayam, the group of 4. Sadhana chatushtayam is be discovered automatically by those people who follow their varnashrama dharma, who have a life of tapas and who are always offering unto the Lord, pleasing the Lord. Okay. By doing their prescribed duty, by austerity, and by propitiating the Lord, seekers achieve the means to gain the fourfold qualifications of dispassion, etc. Now, Bhatya uncle.
The means for attaining internal purity. Here the author tells the sadhana means for pumsa, seekers or aspirants, to achieve the vairagya adi chatushtya, fourfold qualification. In other words, he is telling how to attain inner purity. The first line mentions
Swavarna ashrama dharma.
Swavarna ashrama dharma and tapas and haritoshnam as 3 things we should have in our life to gain internal purity.
Continue, uncle.
समझाएंगे?
Continue. अच्छा, इसमें समझाना है? इसमें कोई समझाना है?
We are totally ना समझ.
ना अंकल, आप read ahead, वो समझा देंगे स्वामी.
The traditional system of dharma. The first means is swadharma ashram dharma. Swarna varna ashram dharma. Dharma here means one's prescribed duty. We should understand that this is the text composed 1200 years ago by Adi Shankaracharya ji. At that time, there was a certain order and strict structure in the society. When there is a structure in the society, and thus in an individual's life, we know how to relate to each other. Just like a conference where everyone has their name and title on the name tag, here also there is a tag. One is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra.
You can read the footnote of page number 30 footnote.
The four social groups,
Varna.
Varnas, within Vedic society: Brahman,
Kshatriya.
priest or teacher; Kshatriya, warrior or administrator; Vaishya, merchant; and Shudra, laborer.
So Swavarna ashrama means your own. Swa means one's own. That's the only thing to explain here. So one's own varna and ashrama, whatever the dharma of your own varna and ashrama is. So as a Brahmana, what is your, because that is the varna. As a Brahmana, what is your duty? As a Kshatriya, what is your duty? As your Vaishya, what is your duty? As a Shudra, what is your duty? And then again, depending on which ashrama you are. Are you in Brahmacharya ashram? Are you in Grahastha ashram? Are you in Vanaprastha ashram? Or are you in Sannyasa ashram? So according to that, so Swavarna ashrama dharma. Now let's see what Swamiji says.
In such a setup, tasks within the society are divided depending upon one's competence, disposition, and preferences. You give the right kind of task to the right person. That was the principle. Running a society requires so many things to be done, and everybody can't do everything. Depending upon the disposition of your mind, you will be competent to do a given thing. For example, what a carpenter can do, a physics scholar cannot do. And what that fellow can do, a fighter cannot do. Everybody does what he can do and others cannot, meaning that everybody comes with a very unique nature, attributes, and capabilities. Ideally, a person is assigned to the task which they are most suited. This was the idea, what we call the Varna Vyavastha, the arrangement in society for distributing the task among these four Varnas, social groups. We also talk about the four ashrams, stages of the life: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. This was the setup in the time when it was possible to determine a person's social group from birth. When that system is there, it is possible to decide the person's disposition based on birth. But when that system does not exist, following dharma generally requires self-restraint. Dharma means doing what is right. And in this system, what is right for you is, of course, prescribed. But doing what is right requires restraint in any case, because there is usually an impulse to do what is convenient or what I like. And very often, what I like is not what is right. Dharma or duty requires me to check or restrain my tendency to do what I like and instead to do what is right. A time may come when one will naturally, effortlessly do what is right. Then one is really established in dharma. Suppose, for example, one keeps speaking truth by controlling the impulses to speak untruth. By restraining those tendencies and doing what is right, a time will come when truth becomes spontaneous. Dharma can become spontaneous for a person when a person really lives a disciplined life.
A small question, not really important question. What is the connection between dharma and discipline?
यही तो स्वामी जी कह रहे हैं कि doing what I like it has to be restrained, disciplined.
That is
what I what I have to do
Hmm.
is that is dharma.
Yeah, and that is the discipline. Yeah. Now, Anita,
Yes.
there's nothing, no? This is all very simple, okay?
Dharma depends on one's role. Swavarna ashrama dharma means doing what is right, performing one's duty in accordance with one's varna and ashrama. Nowadays, we don't have this varna and ashrama system, but still we need to know what a situation calls for. We have to ask ourselves, what is the appropriate response to this situation? What is expected of me here? In every situation, we play a role. Father, mother, son, daughter.
एक लाइन छोड़ गई.
What is it? कहाँ छोड़ी? In
नहीं,
every
नहीं, छोड़िए।
नहीं,
ठीक
ठीक
है।
है डॉक्टर साहब, ठीक है.
चल ठीक.
father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife, employer, employee, and so on. Every moment we are playing a role, and there is a script for every role. Just as there is a script for every role in a play
I am in
or
a
drama,
class. Can you call me later?
so also there is a script for playing every role in life. That is called dharma. Every role has its own dignity, and I have to be true to my role by conducting myself in a dignified, responsible, mature way. This is called dharma, and it will happen only when whatever I do is done in a spirit of contribution, offering, and letting go.
Okay, 1 minute. Letting go of
Yes.
what?
Letting go is what I like to do, what I want to do.
Good.
Usko letting go.
Letting
Letting
go.
go, if it is in conflict,
It is
If it
if it
is
is in conflict with what I need, what I have to do,
as a
then I
duty.
let it go. Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
While we may forget Varna and Ashrama, we cannot lose sight of Dharma. Living a life of maturity and contribution, this is living intelligently.
Ah, very nice. See? Suni uncle?
Yes, dharma and tapas. In the verse, the author says, this is done tapasa. With tapas is austerity. In fact, living a life of dharma is itself austerity. Austerity means willingly undergoing pain and suffering. Some will, of course, speak of austerity such as
Krichra Chandrayana.
Kritra Kandrayana.
You can
Etc.
read the footnote because he
A
explains
form of
what it is.
austerity in which one progressively fasts for a month,
Oh,
reducing
yes.
food by one mouthful for each day of the waning moon, fasting completely on the new moon day, and then increasing the portion of food by one mouthful each day until the next full moon.
Hmm. Okay, so that is Chandrayana. Okay.
Uh,
Then, but
but
at the
at the individual level, we can say that austerity is minimum demand or minimum consumption. In Dharma, I have a commitment to fulfill the needs of others. In every situation, when I perform a duty, the needs of the one to whom I am duty bound become more important than my own need. This is
yeah,
why
this is a
Dharma,
very beautiful definition of seva, because it's very difficult to put the person whom you're serving above your own needs. So here, the needs of the one to whom I'm duty bound becomes more important than my own needs. So there's a lot of sacrifice involved.
that is why Dharma involves sacrifice and letting go. In tapas, I have a commitment as an individual to consume a minimum, to contribute the maximum is dharma, and to consume the minimum is tapas. Minimum consumption naturally requires self-restraint because I must keep all impulses, desires, and indulgences in my senses and mind under check. Tapas is refraining from all indulgences, all excesses, and consuming only what is required. That will make you a sadhu anyway.
So if Mrs. Bhatia gives me, one gulab jamun, then I have to stop at one gulab jamun. I cannot keep on eating 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Then there will be no tapas in my life.
I think it is better to serve in a thali. That is the best. And he knows that he has to manage within that actually.
Yeah. Okay. So now we will ask Sarvajanti. Sarvajanti, full stop hogi to pause karna please.
Okay. Pleasing the Lord. The next word is Hari Toshna, propitiating, pleasing, or satisfying the Lord, whom we call Hari. We previously saw this name Hari in the first verse, and now the verse speaks of Hari Toshna. Toshna means propitiating or pleasing one, propitiating Ishvara by doing what pleases Ishvara. Every time I am about to do something, my resolve is, may the Lord be pleased with what I am about to do. He witnessed everything because he is the very witness in my mind. Every
My mind.
thought is witness. It is like CCTV, which is everywhere these days. In United States, you see the camera at every instruction. In the same way, there is a CCTV right within the mind. It is not just what I do, it is what I say, and even what I think by thought, word, and deed. I should be doing what will please Ishvara.
Yeah, very beautiful, no? What is Hari Toshana? So he says, may the Lord be pleased with what I am about to do. And in the day, we are doing so many actions, no? So as far as possible, we remember the Lord and we offer what we are doing to the Lord. Iti. And I love this when he says it's like having a CCTV. Bhagwan is sitting there. He is the CCTV within our mind. और वो देख रहा है सब कुछ आपके हर विचार आपके हर everything. He is all the time watching. What pleases Ishvara? In the
What
Gita, Lord Krishna says, Ante I'm reading, Pitahamasya Jagataha Mata Dhata Pitamahaha. I am the father of the whole universe. I am the mother and the grandfather. Because parents are committed to the well-being of their progeny, Ishvara will be pleased if we also take care of all his progeny, all of our brothers and sisters. In other words, I'm committed to a life in which I do not hurt anybody, consciously at least. Not only that, I seek to help everybody. That attitude of compassion is what will please Ishvara. So difficult to see nowadays. Haritoshana can also mean a specific act or worship that I perform. There is dharma in my life only when I relate to others with a spirit of duty and offering. I relate to myself as one with minimum consumption, and I relate to the Lord by worship, meaning by offering, a life of offering to the Lord. So let there be worship in our life. Okay, maximum contribution, let there be worship in our life. Some people say Vedanta doesn't require bhakti, devotion, in any form of worship. This might be all right for the highest level of student who has already gained what bhakti has to offer. But here, the very teacher of Vedanta, Adi Shankaracharya, tells us that Haritoshana is important. That means it is required for inner purity. So this Swamiji बहुत सुंदर रीत से बताया कि हरितोषणा का अर्थ क्या हुआ, because he is related it to Gita verse where Bhagavan is saying, I am your mother, I am your Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha, I am the father, I am the grandfather. And therefore, if he's saying he is that of the whole universe, everybody is connected to him. We are all his children, in other words, his progeny. And therefore, naturally, even in a family, if one brother is going to hurt another brother, then the parents will feel very bad. Why are my children fighting like this? So in the same way, Ishvara being the mother and father, then the best way of making Ishvara happy is to make others in the universe happy by not hurting them. At least not consciously. Let's put it that way, not consciously. Okay? Now look at this one. I relate to myself as one with minimum consumption. Wow. And I relate to Lord by maximum contribution. So a life of minimum consumption, maximum contribution within whatever limits I have. Yeah, within wherever we are, within whatever constraints we have within that. Bhatia uncle?
Expressing bhakti.
Hmm.
The three things told to us for cultivating inner purity are dharma, tapas, and haritoshna. Bhakti is expressed in the form of action, such as kirtan, singing his glories and his praise, shravan, listening to his glories, smaran, remembering him by doing japa, etc. Pad sevan, performing puja and making offerings, and so on. All these actions are part of bhakti and are means of pleasing the Lord. So you may say, Haritoshna, propitiating the Lord, can mean performing special actions that are intended for Ishvara. Indeed, Ishvara in the form of ideally uniform, Ishvara in the form of universe is to be pleased, as Ramanna Maharishi would say.
Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujana.
Updesaram.
So in that footnote number 35, uncle. Serving the world.
Serving the world with an attitude that it is the Lord, is the worship of the Lord of 8 forms.
Yeah.
Saram 5th. Serving the world as Ishvara itself is a worshipping Ishvara. It is tough to worship the Jagat. The greatest challenge we have is worshipping human beings. You can please a pet, but pleasing another human being is a tough job. Human beings have an uncanny knack of pushing for buttons. Dharma means that you have to interact with the world and your buttons will be pushed. We need an environment in which our buttons are not pushed. So you find a time where you are the Ishvara by yourself. That is called puja, worship, where there is only you and the altar. Usually our Hindu devtas are always smiling. So we see this smile of acceptance and love. That is where we feel accepted and comfortable. When you are comfortable, you can be honest. You need not pretend to be different. When we are with the world, some pretense is generally involved. We rarely come across as we really are, and instead try to come across as we want others to see us. But with Ishvara, we can come across as we are, with all our weaknesses and shortcomings, because we know that He will not reject us.
In fact,
We may
actually, Uncle Manan, this is a very beautiful prayer. You know, we can always do prayer, pray to Ishvara to help us with our weaknesses and shortcomings. Hey, Ishvara, I don't have enough discipline in my life. Please help me. You know, or I have a problem of anger. So you please help me. And this kind of a daily prayer, in daily prayer, if you vocalize your weakness to Ishvara, it actually acts as an auto suggestion, because daily you're acknowledging in front of Ishvara that ये मेरा issue है, आपका मदद चाहिए. So one is तो आपके लिए एक auto suggestion बन जाती है psychologically. Other is of course Ishvara's kripa will be there, and in some form that help will come. Okay?
we rarely come across as we really are, and instead try to come across as we want others to see us. But with Ishvara, we can come across as we are, with all our weaknesses and shortcomings, because we know that He will not reject us. We may be afraid that the world will reject us, but here is one place where we can be totally honest, comfortable, and accepted. Worship creates an atmosphere in our mind where we are what we are without any pretense. In that atmosphere, we make offerings to the Lord. We recite His name, sing His glories, listen to His glories, make offerings, whatever our mood permits. Relating to Ishvara as a devotee is the worship of Ishvara. This is Haritoshna.
Very nice. Anita?
Yes. The result of bhakti. By doing this, a person will discover the qualifications he or she needs. The verb prabhavet means it will happen. When you do this, the Vairagya Adi Chatushtya, the fourfold qualifications beginning with Vairagya, dispassion, will happen. They will manifest themselves in your mind because they are already there. Basically, our mind possesses all these qualifications, but they are suppressed by adharma. Dharma brings them out and adharma suppresses them. Austerity brings them out, whereas indulgence does the opposite. Your worship brings them out, whereas violating what Ishvara likes will have the opposite effect. In other words, a life in which one violates Ishvara's rule, where there is indulgence and irresponsibility, makes the mind more impure. Even though impurity is only incidental and is not the nature of the mind, this impurity becomes on account of unintelligent living. The purity which is inherent in us becomes manifest when the impurity is removed.
There's a beautiful example, Shankaracharya gives in some of the Bhashyas, where he says that if you look at a copper pot, and if you just leave it by itself without cleaning it, it gets an outer layer of, that oxidizing takes place, looks very dirty and horrible. Then when you, but by nature, that copper is shiny. Its nature is to shine. So when you remove that outer layer of, that oxidizing effect, when you clean it, thoda nimbu lo and thoda salt lo, and then you clean it up, then the copper which is naturally shining, it shows up, So in the same way over here also, that's what Swamiji is saying, purity is inherent to the mind, but when that impurity is taken care of, then the purity that is inherent reveals itself. Iti. Sonia uncle?
Gaining the fourfold qualifications. When our mind becomes pure, these qualifications such as viveka, discrimination, vairagya, dispassion, and so on will all manifest. This purity of mind is what we call Sadhana Chatushta, the fourfold qualification. Prabhavat means that there is no separate effort. When you do this, it will automatically happen. This is the prescription that the author gives us. When you live life like this, purification arises and these four qualifications also manifest. The author does not list the fourfold qualification here because he makes for granted that Vedanta student knows them. The qualifications are Viveka, Viragya, Samadhi, Sampati, Shat Sampati, and Mumukshutva. Viveka is discrimination or discernment. Viragya is dispassion. Samadhi, Satka, Sampati means the sixfold inner wealth beginning with Sama. Mumukshutva is the keen desire for moksha. Teachers may emphasize different things such as purity of food, etc. But here basically what is emphasized is the purity of heart, the evolution of heart and mind.
Yeah.
In some texts, we find that the sequence of these fourfold qualifications starts with Vivek, with each preceding quality being the cause and each following one being the effect. In other words, if you have matured enough with Vivek, then the Vairagya will arise. If you are mature enough with Vairagya, then Samadhi, Satka, Sampati will take place. When you are mature with Samadhi, Satka, Sampati, that keen desire for moksha will arise. Each preceding one therefore become the ground for the cultivation of the next. We call this
Hetu Bhava.
Hetu Bhava, a cause and effect relationship. Here, however, the author begins with Vairagya, dispassion, even though this passion will arise only as a result of Vivek, discrimination. It looks as though the author feels that all of the qualification, Vairagya is most important and is therefore placed first in the list. The next section, the author begins an explanation of these fourfold qualifications.
Okay. So,
should I read this?
Uncle, let me correct your this. I mean, let me help you with this. In that, the word is Shama. So when you see Sir, S, but they put a stroke on top, then it becomes a Sh. So Shama.
Shama.
Okay? So Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti.
Samadhi, Satka,
Shamadhi,
Sampatti.
Okay, so it's a Sh. If S is by itself, it is Sa. But if S has got a stroke on top, then it becomes Sh.
Sure.
So Shama, Shatka, Sampati. So Shama is tranquility of the mind. Dhamma is mastery of external organs. We know from Tattva Bodha. Uparama is observance of one's duties. Titiksha is capacity to put up with difficult situations. Shraddha is trust in the words of the teacher and Vedanta. And Samadhana is the ability to focus the mind on one thing. With that, at least the second verse, this third verse was okay. And now we'll start from next time with part 2, where author will start with Vairagya only. In Tattva Bodha, we started with Viveka. But here, he will start with Vairagya. So we'll see that next time. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. This was
Swamiji, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. Little bit tired, but otherwise okay. Yesterday I was not, but today I'm much better.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Om Hari
Take care.
Namo. Okay. ये तो हो ही नहीं रहा.